So there are two different types of clocks. Let's look at the first type. So there are two different types of clock, and the first clock is the one that I would say we all had in our classroom. And this type of clock, we had, I know at least my class, ours was kind of over by the door. And we noticed that on the clock there were numbers. The numbers started with 12 and they went all the way to 11. And so it went from 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, back to 12. And there are two hands that come on this clock. That's what they are called. They are called hands. One hand is short and one hand is long. And the hands come up and then there's an arrow. Let's go ahead. And then there's a short hand. And again, this is called the analog clock. It's a hard word and kind of tricky, but you can say it with me, analog. And so this is the analog clock. This is the clock that we are going to be talking about the most today, but there is another type of clock that I want us to look at. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're moving this one back, going back and forth between my two boards. Oh, y'all. Oh, here it is. Okay. The other type of clock, this one is much easier to read. When you look at a cell phone, this is what you will see. And let's go ahead. There we go. And this clock looks like this. And it has two dots, like that. And then it has numbers as well. But instead of like the analog clock, it has two hands. Instead of having two hands, it has two spots for numbers. And this type of clock is called a digital clock. So we have, let's do 3 o'clock. Okay, so we have the digital clock right here. And the digital clock, this part right here is the hour. I'm going to go ahead and circle the hour. And then this part right here is the minutes. I'm underlining the minutes. This one, the digital clock is the easiest. It's on cell phones, computers, tablets. This is what you would see on electronic device. This clock, the analog clock, is what you will see sometimes in houses or in businesses or at school. And this is the clock that we're going to be talking about today. So we have two hands. We have a long hand that has an arrow at the end. And then we have the short hand, which is shorter than the long hand, but it also has an arrow at the end. Now, the long hand stands for the long hand stands for the minute. So I'm going to write min underneath the long hand. The short hand stands for the hour. So I'm going to write hour next to that one. So we are going to look at this clock right here. And the long hand tells us the minutes. So I'm circling the long hand. And I'm going to put a box around my short hand. So this tells me, remember, the hour goes first. We have 3. And then the long hand's on 12. So some of us would write 3:12. Now, are you ready for this? We're about to learn something new. Here we go. I'm going to get rid of this, the minutes, because each number we see actually counts as 5 minutes. Let me say that again. Each number you see is worth 5 minutes. Let me go ahead and pull out this clock right here. This will make it a little easier for us to see. Hang on. Holy guacamole. Can I go backwards? I sure can. Here we go. So we have the little hand is pointing to the 3. The big hand is pointing to the 12. Now, like I said, each red number, each big number counts as 5 minutes. The one up top counts as 60 minutes, and I'll explain why. So we have 12 to 1, so we have 5, and you see a little 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And as this big hand moves, you see the little hand starts to move. As the minute hand, which is the blue, moves, the hour hand, which is the red, moves. And it takes the blue hand 60 minutes to move around the clock. But as the blue hand moves around the clock, the red hand only moves one red number. It only moves one red number. Let's look at this again. The red hand is on the red number 5. And let's watch as the blue hand moves around the clock. What does the red hand do? Where does the red hand go? The blue hand is almost all the way back to the starting point. Oh, there we go. And the red hand has moved one red number. Now, you can see little tick marks in between the red numbers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th blue mark is the number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next blue mark for number 5 goes up 5. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see from the number 2 to the number 3, how many minutes? So if the number 2 has 10 minutes, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The blue 15 tells us if the blue hand is on the number 3, it'll be 15 minutes. Okay. That is just a quick overview. We're going to get more into this, and you will actually have a clock page to do tomorrow. But this was just kind of getting our toes wet.